The sun beat down on Harmony Creek, a town so quiet you could hear the squirrels arguing over acorns. Perfect for Officer Jones, fresh out of the police academy. He wanted to make a difference, to show everyone he was more than just a baby-faced rookie. He polished his badge every morning until it gleamed, dreaming of catching bank robbers and rescuing kittens from trees. But Harmony Creek didn't offer much excitement. Mostly it was just Mrs. Gable's cat getting stuck again, or teenagers speeding a little too fast down Main Street. Still, Officer Jones was determined. He'd prove himself, even if it meant giving out a lot of speeding tickets. He was ready to uphold the law, protect the innocent, and show Harmony Creek he was the real deal. Harmony Creek wasn't just quiet, it was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business. The town's biggest events were the annual pie-eating contest and the 4th of July parade. The local newspaper, the Harmony Herald, usually featured stories about prize-winning zucchini or the high school football team. Sheriff Brody, a kind, grandfatherly figure, mostly dealt with parking violations and the occasional runaway dog. He'd seen it all in his 30 years on the job. He often chuckled at Officer Jones' enthusiasm, knowing the young man would soon learn that police work wasn't always about high-speed chases and dramatic arrests. It was about helping people and keeping the peace in a small, close-knit community. One afternoon, while patrolling Harmony Creek's Main Street, Officer Jones noticed an older model sedan drifting slightly across the yellow lines. His heart quickened. This could be it. Finally, a real police moment. He signaled the car to pull over, his hand instinctively going to his holster, though he quickly reminded himself to stay calm. He watched in the rearview mirror as the car slowly came to a stop. He took a deep breath, adjusted his cap, and stepped out of the patrol car, ready to perform his duty. This was his chance to show Sheriff Brody, and the whole town, that he was a capable officer ready to handle any situation, no matter how small. Officer Jones approached the driver's side window, his notepad in hand. He maintained a professional demeanor, his voice calm and steady. "Good afternoon, sir. Do you know why I pulled you over?" He kept his eyes on the driver, assessing the situation. The elderly man behind the wheel looked up, his eyes wide and a little confused. He wore a faded baseball cap and a slightly rumpled shirt. "Pulled me over, officer? Was I speeding?" His voice was raspy, and he seemed genuinely bewildered. Officer Jones smelled no alcohol but suspected maybe the man was just an unsafe driver. He needed to follow procedure. "I observed you drifting across the center line, sir," Officer Jones explained patiently. "Could I please see your license and registration?" The elderly man fumbled in his pockets, his hands shaking slightly. "Of course, officer, just a moment." He rummaged through his wallet, pulling out a collection of faded photographs and tattered cards before finally locating his driver's license. Then he began searching for the registration, opening the glove compartment and shuffling through a pile of papers. He seemed increasingly flustered, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I know it's here somewhere," he muttered, his voice barely audible. The poor man looked genuinely stressed. As the elderly man continued his frantic search, Officer Jones' gaze drifted towards the dashboard. Nestled among a collection of trinkets and mementos, he spotted it, a small, tarnished Purple Heart medal. The sight of it stopped him cold. He knew what that medal represented: courage, sacrifice, an unwavering dedication to one's country. Suddenly, the weaving car and the fumbled registration seemed less important. A wave of understanding washed over him. This wasn't just some random old man, this was someone who had served his country, someone who had potentially faced unimaginable horrors. His perspective began to shift. "Sir," Officer Jones said, his voice softening, "take your time. It's all right." He paused, then asked gently, "I couldn't help but notice your medal. Were you in the service?" The elderly man finally looked up, his eyes meeting Officer Jones. A flicker of pride crossed his face. "Yes, son, I was. Served in Korea. Got this little souvenir there." He tapped the dashboard near the Purple Heart. "Long time ago, though. Sometimes I get a little turned around these days." He chuckled softly, but Officer Jones could see the weight of those years in his eyes. He handed over the registration, finally found, with trembling hands. "I'm a little hard of hearing, officer," the man continued, raising his voice slightly. "And I just came from the doctor. He gave me some new medicine, said it might make me a little foggy. I was trying to get home, but I think I took a wrong turn somewhere." He looked around, his expression a mixture of confusion and embarrassment. "Don't usually drive like that, I promise you. Just a bit disoriented." Officer Jones now understood the weaving. It wasn't recklessness, it was confusion. The man was lost and struggling. Flashback, the air crackled with gunfire. Sergeant Miller, barely 20 years old, crawled through the mud, the screams of his comrades ringing in his ears. A grenade landed near his wounded buddy, pinned down by enemy fire. Without hesitation, Miller threw himself on top of the grenade, shielding his friend from the blast. The world exploded in a blinding flash of pain and shrapnel. He survived, barely, his body riddled with scars, but his friend lived. That day, he earned his Purple Heart, a testament to his selfless courage. Back in the present, Officer Jones felt a wave of guilt wash over him. He'd been so focused on proving himself, on following the letter of the law, that he'd completely missed the bigger picture. He'd treated a war hero like a common criminal, all because his car had drifted a little. He felt a deep sense of embarrassment. He should have been more observant, more understanding. The eagerness to prove himself now felt foolish and misplaced. He regretted his initial assumption and the way he'd approached the situation. "Sir, I am so sorry," Officer Jones said sincerely. "I should have been more understanding. Let me help you get home." He offered to lead the way, promising to ensure the man arrived safely. He even programmed the man's address into his patrol car's GPS. As they drove, Officer Jones apologized again. "Thank you for your service, sir. It was wrong of me to assume the worst." He felt a genuine desire to make amends for his mistake. This was more important than any speeding ticket. The elderly man smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. "Apology accepted, son. We all make mistakes. In the war," he continued, "we learned that understanding each other was just as important as fighting. Sometimes, the enemy wasn't the other side, but the lack of understanding right in our own ranks." He paused, his gaze distant for a moment. "Just remember that, son. Understanding goes a long way." His words were a gentle lesson, a reminder that compassion was a powerful tool. As he drove back to his patrol route, Officer Jones replayed the encounter in his mind. The elderly man's words resonated deeply. He realized that his job wasn't just about enforcing the law, it was about serving the community with empathy and compassion. He understood now that everyone has a story, and it's important not to judge a book by its cover. He vowed to be a better officer, one who listened more than he lectured and who understood before he acted. This traffic stop had taught him a valuable lesson. From that day forward, Officer Jones approached every situation with a new perspective. When he responded to a noise complaint, he took the time to listen to the residents' concerns instead of immediately writing a ticket. When he encountered teenagers loitering in the park, he engaged them in conversation instead of simply ordering them to leave. He made a conscious effort to be patient and understanding, remembering the lesson he had learned from the elderly veteran. He wanted to be the kind of officer Harmony Creek deserved. A few days later, during his lunch break, Officer Jones found himself driving towards the elderly man's house. He'd picked up a few groceries, milk, bread, and some fresh fruit, remembering the bare cupboards he'd glimpsed during the traffic stop. He felt a little nervous, unsure if he was overstepping, but he knew he wanted to do something to show he cared. He knocked on the door, and after a moment, the elderly man answered, his face lighting up with recognition. "Officer Jones! What a pleasant surprise!" That visit marked the beginning of an unlikely friendship. Officer Jones started stopping by regularly, helping with small chores around the house, listening to the elderly man's stories about the war, and sharing his own experiences as a young police officer. They talked about everything and nothing, bridging the generation gap with laughter and mutual respect. The elderly man, whose name was revealed to be Frank Miller, became a mentor to Officer Jones, offering wisdom and guidance. Officer Jones, in turn, brought Frank companionship and a renewed sense of purpose. The people of Harmony Creek noticed the change in Officer Jones. He was more approachable, more patient, and genuinely seemed to care about their concerns. They also saw him visiting Frank Miller regularly, mowing his lawn, and sharing stories on the porch. The unlikely friendship between the young cop and the old veteran warmed the hearts of the community. It reminded them of the importance of connection and understanding. A greater sense of unity blossomed in Harmony Creek, fostered by the simple act of kindness and the bond between two men from different generations. Officer Jones became a pillar of Harmony Creek. He was no longer just a rookie trying to prove himself, he was a trusted friend, a compassionate neighbor, and a respected member of the community. People knew they could count on him, not just to enforce the law, but to listen, to understand, and to help in any way he could. He earned their respect through his actions, his kindness, and his genuine care for their well-being. He was known throughout the town for his understanding heart. Sheriff Brody smiled, proud of the young man he had watched grow. As the years passed, Frank Miller's health began to decline. His steps became slower, his hearing fainter, and his memory less reliable. But through it all, Officer Jones remained a constant presence in his life. He helped Frank with his doctor's appointments, made sure he had his medications, and spent countless hours simply sitting with him, listening to his stories and offering comfort. He became more than a friend, he was like a son to Frank, providing unwavering support and care. He even learned how to make Frank's favorite Korean dish. The day Frank Miller passed away was a sad one for Harmony Creek. He died peacefully in his sleep, with Officer Jones holding his hand. The officer had been there all night, telling stories and reminiscing about their friendship. As Frank took his last breath, a faint smile touched his lips. He knew he was loved and cared for. Officer Jones felt a deep sense of loss, but also gratitude for the time they had shared. He knew Frank's memory would live on, not just in his heart, but in the way he lived his life. Officer Jones was deeply affected by Frank's passing. He missed their conversations, their laughter, and the simple act of sitting together in silence. But amidst the sadness, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. He was grateful for the lessons Frank had taught him about empathy, compassion, and the importance of human connection. He was grateful for their unlikely friendship, which had transformed him into a better officer and a better person. He knew that the lessons he learned from Frank would stay with him forever. He kept Frank's Purple Heart on his desk as a reminder. Officer Jones continued his service in Harmony Creek, but now, he carried Frank's memory with him. He approached every situation with a renewed sense of purpose, remembering the importance of empathy and understanding. He became a role model for other officers, demonstrating the power of compassion in law enforcement. He honored Frank's memory by serving his community with kindness, respect, and unwavering dedication. He was no longer just enforcing the law, he was building bridges and fostering connections, just like Frank had taught him. His work was a living tribute to the veteran's legacy. Years later, Officer Jones, now a seasoned veteran himself, found himself mentoring a new rookie named Officer Garcia. He shared his experiences, not just the successes, but also the mistakes he had made. He told Officer Garcia the story of Frank Miller, emphasizing the importance of empathy and understanding in law enforcement. He wanted to ensure that the wisdom he had gained from the elderly veteran would continue to be passed down to future generations of officers. He showed Officer Garcia Frank's Purple Heart, explaining its significance. "Remember this," he said, "everyone has a story." Sitting in his office late one night, Officer Jones reflected on his career. He realized that the most significant moment wasn't a high-speed chase or a daring arrest. It was that seemingly insignificant traffic stop years ago. That one encounter with an elderly veteran had shaped his entire career and his life. It had taught him the true meaning of service, the power of compassion, and the importance of connecting with people on a human level. He understood that Frank had changed him forever. The lessons he learned had rippled through the community and beyond. Driving home that night, Officer Jones noticed an old car weaving slightly on the road. A familiar feeling washed over him. He signaled the car to pull over, but this time, his heart wasn't filled with eagerness to prove himself. Instead, it was filled with empathy and understanding. He approached the vehicle, ready to help, ready to listen, and ready to offer whatever assistance he could. He knew that behind the wheel was another human being, with their own story to tell, their own struggles to face. He was ready to be the officer Frank Miller had helped him become. In a world that often rushes to judgment, it's important to remember the value of respect, kindness, and understanding. To honor our elders, especially our veterans, who have sacrificed so much. To look beyond first impressions and see the human being within. To choose compassion over condemnation. For it is in these simple acts of kindness that we can truly make a difference, one traffic stop, one friendship, one life at a time. And perhaps, in doing so, we can create a more harmonious world, one small town at a time.